All right, we're going on to class format and coaching from screen to screen. This is probably what's going to be most familiar to most of you, so that's kind of a good thing, but you're going to come to some roadblocks as you go along. So the first thing I'm going to recommend is that the first 5 to 10 minutes of any group class, in fact, maybe even the first few one-on-one classes, is to do the housekeeping for their Zoom setup. And much like when you're speaking to your parents about how to use a computer, there's going to be a bit of back and forth. I'm going to advise you guys to stay patient and I'm going to advise you guys to keep a smile on your faces. And what you want to do is be as clear as possible about what the options are there. So in a group environment, I'm often telling people, first, I want you guys to get my video pinned, and then I'd like to get you guys on mute. And then that way they can play the music they want to play in the background and it doesn't affect anyone else's workout. And we're going to talk about the consequences of that in queuing a bit later on, but that's what I'd do in a group environment. I also want to spend a little bit of time in that housekeeping, telling people what they need to have in their hands, whether they need a couch or a chair or a towel or a water bottle, or if you've decided to venture out into using a weight, whether they need a kettlebell, or if they don't have a kettlebell, what can they do to make a weight as well? Weights in the backpack or the Heston sack with a few water bottles. So you want to kind of get all these things clear at the start, and that's the difference between at home versus the gym. People need to go off and set that time up. So it'll be on you to kind of make sure that's ready from the beginning, because if halfway through the workout, someone has to stop and go and get something, you've got to decide between stopping the whole workout for everyone or letting them miss out. That's why the housekeeping for the first few minutes is so important. Once you're sure everyone has what they need, once you're sure everyone knows what the Zoom setup is going to be and they're all in a good place, you can start the warm-up. Now, the warm-up I'm going to suggest is something you can do to follow along. So this is where your stationing becomes pretty important. You can do your own mobilizations from a standing position and you can get them to follow suit. And this sort of stuff is going to be kind of where you can get the whole collective going and people start moving. You can do what you would ordinarily do. Any of those fancy mobilizations you've learned, if you've got the space, you can do it. So the warm up is follow along, make it valuable, make their heart rates come up a little bit. You guys already know most of this, but then I need you to bring them back to the computer and I'm going to advise the format from there of taking them off mute and teaching the exercises you're going to do that day. So one thing I found in a group class that is a HIIT class or a circuit class is that, let's say you have 6 people in your class and you have 6 exercises to go and you're watching it on your screen and someone needs some form adjustment and you say, person X, with your squats, can you do it this way? Watch my screen and I'll show you. And the whole workout stops. And the next time they get a chance to do that is after all the other 6 exercises have happened. And more than likely, someone else in the group is going to need cueing in that period. So you get kind of backed up with it. So what I've been doing with HIIT and with circuit work is just picking 2 or 3 exercises that are back and forth. In fact, what I found is very effective is the 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off Tabata style, where I take 2 exercises, just take a push-up and a squat, or any push-up variation and any squat variation. And what that allows for is everything's going to stay super simple for people's cueing to get practiced a minute after you cue it, and it minimizes the amount of different things you've kind of got stacked up. You don't have to tell person X to do this in this round, person Y to do that in that round, person Z to do this in this round. You can just pick the 2 exercises. And you're like, guys, when you're squatting, you've got to be sitting back, or you've got to be keeping your knees here, or you've got to keep your chest up, whatever you need to do. But think about the limitations of everyone being in their own lounge room rather than in a room where they can see everyone else. And think about how you can cue to minimally impact the pace of the workout. So that's in the group environment. In the one-on-one environment, you're going to have a little bit more freedom. I think they're pretty good ways to go, but you're going to find there's going to be other terminologies you can use. So when I'm using a resistance band with 2 handles, I'll either tell someone ahead of time 2-handle setup or single-handle setup, so they know how to anchor it. So they're either pushing with 1 hand and they've anchored it to something, or 2 hands and they've anchored it to something that way. So those are some things and some languages you're going to need to start considering with your clients, because you're going to be talking through the camera. Get creative. The personalized touch, I think, is quite useful. Now, in a situation where they're muted and you're trying to give instruction or cue, you're going to need to find a new way to communicate with them. So especially if they've got music on in the background and there's 4 people and they're doing the Tabata circuit, what I've got people doing, and you can use your own stuff, is I've got the yes answer, the thumbs up, or the no answer, the flat palms. And then you have to learn to cue and speak with yes and no questions. Mr. X, can you hear me? We're doing the squat right now. I need to correct your form. Is that okay? Can you see what I'm doing? And then, demonstrate or whatever. And they'll go like that. And you can ask things like, are you ready to keep on going? And they might drop a no. Does anybody need water? Are you guys ready for the next set? So things like creating that interactive capability while you're still running the workout are just super important. And it's something you're going to have to workshop. And in time, I'm sure we'll have a best practice for it. But that's what I've come up with. That's the feedback that seems to be working for me. So the final part of this that I've found from my own sessions is there's a point where training in is camaraderie, where you're part of the whole group training. There's a point when it gets in the way of cueing people. And some of the best feedback I've got, or the feedback or the things people have appreciated the most, have been when I've been able to say to them mid-set, you need to keep your chest up in that squat, or you need to draw your shoulder blades down in that row pattern. To be able to still do that through a computer screen reminds them there's still a value there. In fact, it's usually what most of them are going to you for. So by all means, jump in on a few rounds, but remember that your value, or most of your value, is actually in making sure they're doing their workout properly, just like it is when you're a one-on-one personal trainer. So those are some things to think about during class format and when you're cueing people. I hope that helps.